Hello and welcome back to the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel, where of course we're giving you all the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. Back again with another match preview for you on the YouTube channel, exclusive to you guys over here on YouTube. So we're going to be talking today about the Derby game, which kicks off tomorrow evening at the Hawthorns. We're looking forward to this one, hoping to bounce back after, I'm going to say, a disappointing draw for Albion against the side that is Millwall on the weekend. Disappointing from a traffic perspective and a footballing perspective, I think, for Albion. But yeah, we'll be talking a bit about the Derby game today, giving you a bit of an insight into the opposition and who we can sort of expect to be playing and their game style and all of that. We'll also be giving a bit of a prediction into our lineup and also a prediction into the scoreline as well for tomorrow's 8 o'clock kickoff. So we'll be talking all about that. But before we get straight into this video, be sure to subscribe to the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel for more content like this. There's more where this came from: match day vlogs, match previews, match reaction podcasts, special guests, ex-player guests. All that is coming on the Baggies Podcast this season. So be sure to subscribe. We're aiming for 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So your help would be massively appreciated with that. But yeah, let's get straight into this match preview video for the Derby game. Let's go. So a match preview here for you for the Derby game, as I said, kicks off on Tuesday the 14th of September at 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock kickoff, a classic Championship midweek game under the lights at the Hawthorns. It's going to be a cracker for sure. So obviously Derby starting the season relatively badly, but I suppose in terms of what we expected from them, it's actually quite decent from what Derby have been able to pull out the bag so far. Obviously getting an opening day loss against Peterborough, but beating Hull the next week, but also picking up draws and losses as well. So they've started the season with 3 losses, a draw and a win. So it's not going massively well for Derby, but it's certainly going better than a lot of people expected in terms of the start of the season, because it's not been all that bad, to be quite honest, for Derby County. Of course, they are sat well above the relegation zone in 16th place, 2 points above the relegation zone. Obviously, things very tight in the table as things have only just really started off in the season. So yeah, I think in terms of Derby, they're doing a lot better than people think. People thought they were going to be rock bottom. Obviously, still rumoured points deductions and things like that, as I was speaking to the guys from Rams Report yesterday on their podcast about that. So they need as many points as they can get, really. So they'll be fighting certainly for every single point that they can get this season. In terms of their play style, obviously managed by Wayne Rooney, who would like them to play an expansive and pretty brand of football, really, with Wayne Rooney in charge of the Rams at the moment. Ranking 6th in the possession percentage charts for the season so far. Obviously, we're ranking at 16th in those possession percentage charts, but obviously Sheffield United ranking up there along with Swansea, Fulham as well. But Derby in 6th with 54.1% average of the possession. Obviously, dominated possession in the Birmingham City fixture the other night, which was on Sky, if you guys saw that. So they clearly want the ball and they want to be able to play with the ball. They've got some very good technical footballers in their midfield with Max Bird and Graham Shinney. They've got those guys in there as well. And then they've got a decent attacking midfielder in Revel Morrison as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what we can expect from Derby in terms of a footballing perspective. Maybe that's going to play a bit more to Valerian Ismail's style of play, more so than Millwall, because Millwall obviously wanted to be very physical at the weekend, but Derby maybe won't want to be as nasty as Millwall perhaps were, which might help us out a little bit, and they might want to get the ball on the deck, which may help the high press. In terms of pass accuracy, they also rank in the top 7 for that. 7th place for that, with 78.9% of their passes meeting the acceptable target. Obviously, we're down at the bottom of that table, as we spoke about in the Millwall match preview. So, yeah, Derby keeping the ball nicely with some good range of passing, as I mentioned, some good technicians in the midfield. Not ranking very good and very highly in their charts for aerials won. They're 19.2 aerials won per 90, which isn't particularly high, really, for a side in the Championship. 19th, as I mentioned there. We're relatively high up, as I mentioned last week, with being 3rd in the table for that particular stat. Obviously, Derby, they are going to try hard, and but they have won some of the least tackles per game, to be honest. Obviously, nearly on the least of that, with 2nd bottom and 23rd in the league for tackles per game with 11.5. So by the stats way of looking at it, they're not perhaps going to get down and dirty and really tussle and be nasty like Millwall were, which I think may work in the favour of Valérien Ismaël. He wants teams to come to the Hawthorns and try and play some nice, pretty football, and he wants them to get pressed high up the pitch so that we can win the ball back and create opportunities. So I think potentially if Derby are going to come and play football against us, I think they might want to watch out, because I think that's something that they need to look out for. They played 2 through balls per game, which is just one better than our average. Crosses per game, Derby are relatively near the bottom with 17. Obviously, we're quite high in 6th for that. So Derby almost playing a polar opposite brand of football. We want to play a physical, aggressive style of football. They want to play a bit more of a tidy side of game of football. So I think that may be sort of what it works, really, to be honest, and how it works. So in terms of Derby's lineup and sort of the average lineup that they've been playing, they've been starting mainly with Keller Roos in goal. If you remember, he had a bit of a hiccup in a playoff final just a couple of seasons ago. But obviously, as we should mention, Derby have got some financial constraints and issues at the moment, which has meant that they've signed a lot of free agents, as I'm sure you'll be aware. That includes players such as Phil Jagielka, Ravel Morrison, Sam Baldock as well in there. But yeah, in terms of lineup, they've really started with Keller Roos, Nathan Byrne at right back, who I think, correct me if I'm wrong, was at Wigan a couple of seasons ago. Phil Jagielka's in there as well, obviously as centre back, but he looks reborn, to be honest, at centre half, to be honest, and at Derby County, despite his age. Curtis Davies, a former West Bromwich Albion player, if you remember rightly, moved to Villa, I think, as well. Craig Forsyth, left back as well, so yeah, and a player that's well known in Championship level. Max Bird and Graham Shinney, as we spoke about earlier, good technicians in the midfield. Kamil Józwiak, who's played for Poland against England the other day, if you remember as well. Louis Sibley, a player that got sent off last time out against Albion, if you remember rightly, for a bit of a stamp on Dara O'Shea. Ravel Morrison starting behind the striker, and obviously Sam Baldock, new signing formerly of Reading, playing up front there. So yeah, in terms of goals, they haven't got a top goal scorer really. They've got an average really of just 4 goal scorers on 1 goal. We've got Curtis Davies in there with 1 goal, Jack Stretton with 1 goal, a youngster. Sam Baldock's got 1 goal, Tom Lawrence has got 1 goal, but other than that, they've only shared 4 goal scorers. Nobody really bagging in the assists. Obviously, Ravel Morrison is a player that has been well documented by the media. You know, he's one of Sir Alex Ferguson's prospects that he said could become one of the best players in the world, and it just hasn't quite worked for him. Maybe this is somewhere that they can really start to get moving with him and his career. Obviously, Derby like to play the ball on the floor. They're not great at finishing chances, and playing out from the back is something that I think that they struggle with a little bit, Derby, to be honest. Obviously, if you saw the Birmingham game, you saw a few hiccups with playing out from the back, and I think that could really work in the high press favour. If I were Wayne Rooney, I'd just say scrap the playing at the back tonight, guys, because the press is coming out, and it's going to be a bit of a hard task to stop, really, to stop the high press if you're going to play out from the back, especially as poorly as Derby did. But obviously, possession football is very much their style of play, and obviously playing in their own half is a part of that, and I think that's something that we could potentially exploit. Obviously, gaining lots of passes in the pitch, lots of movement in the defensive third for them could lead to mistakes, and I think that's something that we need to keep a little bit of an eye out for on Tuesday night. So Derby are going to provide an interesting proposition as a team lower down in the table, but a team that want to play the type of football that's going to get that's attractive to watch and attractive to definitely look at. In terms of our game, I think in terms of lineup, I think it's going to be I'd go for something a little bit different to what we saw starting against Millwall, because obviously 3 games in a week, playing on the weekend as well for Albion. So I think in terms of in goal, I think Sam Johnston, I think it's just as long as you have him, you play him. I think that despite any rumours or transfer issues that we may have with Sam Johnston, I think if you start him, you play him. Obviously, playing Preston on Saturday, so yeah, I think it's going to be difficult to try and keep all these players in both games. I think in terms of a back 3, I want to see Caleb Taylor given the chance, but I don't think Val's going to give him it, to be honest. Maybe Derby would be a nicer game for him to come in and play, but obviously Semi Ajayi didn't play too well against Millwall, giving away a couple of really clear-cut chances for them. So I'd probably go with Taylor at the back instead of Kipre. I don't think Kipre did massively well, but then again, I don't think he did massively badly either. So it's kind of average, but perhaps this is more the game with less physicality potentially that Caleb Taylor could come in and do a job in. Maybe allows Kipre to come back into the side on Saturday. Maybe Kean Bryan could be fit, but I'd probably go for Johnston, I'd go for Caleb Taylor, I'd go for Bartley, and I'd go for probably Semi Ajayi. But then again, Ajayi didn't play well, so maybe I might keep Kipre, but that makes the back three quite inexperienced. So you're going to have to keep one of Ajayi, or keep Ajayi and Bartley in there and then interchange that other centre-back, I think. But then wing-back position fix itself, I think. Furlong and Townsend, as long as they're able to, I think we should continue to pick them. Centre midfield, I may give Malumbi a run out at some point, maybe if it's off the bench, but I might start with Livermore and Mowatt and then perhaps give Malumbi a run off the bench. A front three there of probably, I'd go for Dean Garner, I'd go for Robinson, and I'd probably go for Hugh Gill. I think Dean Garner needs a confidence booster, and I think that Grant needs, I don't know, maybe Grant needs a rest or something, but because he has played every game since and started every game since, but then again, I'd want Phillips in there as well, so it's quite a dilemma. So yeah, maybe give Hugill a start for a bit of physicality up front. If you want to play that long ball style of football, you're going to have to have a long ball striker up front. So Hugill's the kind of player that I play in that position. Then I might leave Dean Garner out and bring him off the bench and put Phillips and Robinson either side of Hugill. That's just my thoughts. Let me know yours. Maybe Hugill deserves a start after working quite hard coming off the bench in the games that he has. But hopefully he gets a go. In terms of score predictions and what I think the game's going to end up as, I think it'd just be a 1-0 win. I think Jordan Hugill will score late on in the game. But I'm looking forward to seeing what Albion can bring, and obviously I look forward to hearing your score predictions in the comments, along with your lineups that you'd play in the comments below. But that does bring me to the end of this Baggies Podcast match preview for the Derby County game. Let me know your thoughts and let me know your score predictions in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video, Baggies fans. Goodbye.